Yes, I send the links through the chat. So I'm live. Yes, I send the link through chat. You can just log in. Yep. Just go to chat. You will find the link. Thank you. Sorry, guys, we have some technical issues here. We will be trying to wait for our guests. Yes, sir. No. Okay. I oh yes, I see that. Yeah, it's Trinidad. Oh, okay, just a moment. I'm also, can you can you click on the public comment? Yes. Yeah. The public the comments there. Okay. So paste the link here. It's already copied. Just paste. Okay. And then click go. All right. Thank you. No, no joke. No joke. Come here quick. Come here. Come. You're supposed to have a share on this real life. Click the two. Yes. Click this one. Okay. All right. I just sent you the link through chat. So, yeah, man, that's crazy. You still loading? Yeah, it's better. Yes, sir. Yeah, I did. I did. allow that to come on the stage. Just show, yes. And then bring the guest up. Ah, fantastic. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there is some background noise. I don't know from where, but yes. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Samuel Siricho. Thank you for joining us. This is the Future of South Sudan show, and my guest is Sabata Ramba. So, welcome.
Thank.
We are going to discuss the issue of federalism. Whether is federalism a solution to South Sudan problem? So that's what we are going to talk about. And I'm so pleased to have our guests and all of you guys. We in US, we are celebrating 1st of July, the great independence of this great nation that brought democracy to most of the world affairs. All right, Mr. Ramba,
Yes,
happy 1st of July, sir.
the same to you. How are you
Yes,
doing?
I'm all right. I'm all right. How is your family?
Family is okay.
Excellent, excellent. All right, let us begin. We have a new nation. We have a country, and I've been went through a lot of crisis, political issues, and of course, we understand the history of our Sudan and South Sudan. Sir, do you think federalism is a solution to South Sudan problems? And if that is the case, try to define federalism to us and explain how it could be a solution to our problem.
Okay, thank you very much, Brother Samuel Sirisio, for hosting me. In fact, this question is very important at this point, uh, as we are all looking for solutions to our problems in South Sudan. Now, I will begin by just defining in very simple terms what federalism is. Federalism is a system of governance where power, the function of power, is set such that power does not get concentrated in only one unit, but it is basically allowed to function at the peripheries, at the state levels, to a certain degree, and also the federal will be limited to function such that the federal will not intervene to state affairs at a certain stage. And usually this is well defined at the constitution. It makes the line between the powers of the federal and the powers of the state very clear, so that eventually when the state functions, the federal will be very careful as it also operates so that it does not overlap the state. And usually when such kind of operation goes, I just want to hint to the viewers that sometimes where the powers overlap and where the powers basically agree and they go together, it is called concurrent powers. But then where there is adverse, then usually in a federal system, then the power of the federal will be considered supreme. That is, the power of the federal will eventually prevail over the power of the state. Like, for example, uh, when you look at I-80 or I-70, this is just an example now. I-80 or I-70, these are federal highways, but they pass through states. Okay, it goes from state to state, and then the part where it passes through a particular state, like for example, you live in Texas. Let me give with an example of I-40. When I-40 comes from New Mexico, it is regulated under the state of New Mexico. As soon as it enters into Texas, then the state of Texas becomes responsible. It regulates the speed limit in I-40, even though the entire I-40, starting from California all the way to the east, is a federal highway. So there is what is called concurrent powers. They share powers here. When there are damages in I-40, the state governor in Texas will request funding from the federal to have purchase be put so that we the truckers can drive smoothly. Not only the truckers, I'm kidding, but even with the other motorists can drive smoothly. So this is where there is what is called concurrent powers agreeing. But when there is adverse, that is the state decides that speed limit is going to be 90. And the federal says, oh, no, 90 is too high. You cannot take it that level. We have a limited speed limit. It is 80, for example. And the state of Texas refuses to bring it to 80. Eventually, 80 prevails because this is what the federal is injecting. You see how it works. This is just how the function of federalism is. But the bottom line is the understanding of federalism is that it limits the state, it limits the power of the federal not to intervene randomly on state affairs. This is just what federalism is by concept. Now, on the question of whether it will work for our situation in South Sudan, ideally, yes, it will work, ideally. That is, if there is a political will, and it is just the system that needs to be inserted. It will actually work better because of the fact that we are a diverse society in South Sudan. And by being diverse in South Sudan, what that does is it makes the people.
Yes, sir. Wait, I'm live on Lnet. Yes, we talk later. Yes. Sorry about it.
No, it's all good. The fact that we are diverse society in South Sudan, it makes what is called our interests kind of also diversified, such that people in, for example, territories of Central Equatoria may have certain special interests as opposed to people in Eastern Equatoria and Western Equatoria. And people in the Equatoria territory may have special interests as opposed to people who are coming from the Upper Nile territories and Bahar Ghazal territories. You see, so the fact that we are a very diverse society and we have what is called special interests needed underneath our what is called common interest or shared interest, then that makes a form of system like federalism very necessary, because eventually it will give the states avenue to regulate political dispensation within parameters or within particular constituent without the state intervening arbitrarily, anyhowly. Because, for example, you come from Eastern Equatoria. Now, in the Eastern Equatoria state, there are state legislatures. And the state legislatures in the Eastern Equatoria understand that the people of Eastern Equatoria way better than when you bring the people in the parliament in South Sudan, okay, and have them put their views about the lives of people in Eastern Equatoria, all right? Because in the parliament in South Sudan, that is if our country was to function normally, the interest in at that level is kind of diversified because there are also representatives of people from the communities in the Upper Nile and Bahr al-Ghazal. So it will make them pass laws or legislate laws in the interest of people of Eastern Equatoria very hard because there are so many interests. But if powers are left to the people of Eastern Equatoria to manage political dispensation there, it will make it easier for the legislatures in the Eastern Equatoria to regulate life for the people of Eastern Equatorians such that they live comfortably because they also understand each other. So that then when people come from somewhere to live in the Eastern Equatoria, they will abide by the laws that the legislatures from the Eastern Equatoria have passed. Well, usually they draft the laws and then vote on it and then take it to the office of the governor for Louis Lobong to sign it into law so that eventually then the local police will start to enforce those laws through process also. The local police will be informed about those things through their local chief of police and all that. That is if the country was to function as it's supposed to, as the constitution prescribes. How unfortunately, however, things are not operating that way. So that's why I say ideally it will work. Ideally it will work. That is only if there is a political will and the desire to have that system function. You see, I will leave it here.
Fantastic. Well, you just described some particulars here in the U.S. How the system runs in a different manner. What other countries do you think can we learn from them in order to make us a functional system of government that relate to federalism?
People talked of Switzerland. People spoke of different places, but I am that kind of a person who believes that once we take a concept of a system, we rather allow the system, we allow our way of life to adjust into the system. That is, if we are to take federalism, for example, once we take it just as a concept of governance, for example, we take the concept of governance of federalism, where the federal will be limited by constitutional powers not to intervene on state affairs, but then it will then be up to the people of the country through their elected representatives, which is now appointed, okay, by the head of state, of course, based on the deal that they have signed, but usually the elected representatives. So it will then be up to the people of the country through their elected representatives in their parliament to now sit down and see what issues should be left for the state to manage and what issues should be left for the federal to manage without what issues should be left to the state to manage without the federal intervening, and what issues should be left for only the federal to manage without the state trying to maneuver in it. Like, for example, under the normal circumstances, the way I see federalism work in various places is issues like foreign relations, for example. These are usually handled by the federal. The states don't do foreign relations. It is usually federal that handles the politics of foreign relations. It is also federal that handles what is called army. Okay, the states handle only police, but the federal handles issues to do with army. Federal also handles issues that are, you know, and this is where when Congress rather when our parliamentarians, we don't call them Congress over there, when our parliamentarians sit down, they will be the ones now to decide what should the federal deal with the issues, and what should the state deal with? There are issues to do with, for example, immigration. In other countries, I see immigrations are usually handled by the federal, not by the state. The federal decides on the status of who should come to the country and who doesn't have to come. Visas are handled by federal, not by states. But then states have usually handle issues to do with, for example, forestry, regulating agriculture, how things are to be done locally, within the country, and small things, for example, and also developing the network of what is called the traffic roads. So long as the roads that are developed, for example, in central Equatoria, should have connections, should have ways by which it can connect to those ones in the eastern Equatoria and those ones in the western Equatoria, so that people can have traffic going from all the way from one country, one corner to another one, also connected to the traffic roads that are in other areas, like, for example, the Upper Nile, so that the network of roads will be something that people can travel, so that you just don't drive from Juba and then the moment you hit the border as you're trying to get into the eastern Equatoria side, and then you find there are no connection of roads from there. So basically the how do you call it? The states will have their own issues that they will handle without the intervention of the federal. However, I do believe that this should be something that will be left upon the people of the country to decide what will be the issues that will be handled in the federal and what should be the issues that will be handled by the state. It cannot be copied from outside. It has to be developed from within.
Okay.
But there is something interesting I want to add in this.
Okay.
There are certain times when the state will legislate on an issue and the federal will say, no, I have an interest in that issue. I don't want you to legislate on it. And the state will say, no, but by constitution, you are not given the power to legislate on those issues. Sometimes this brings conflicts between the state and the federal. And that is why when you look at the US, you will find in the past there used to be cases between the state and the federal. Sometimes you see, for example, the state of Texas versus the US, for example, or the US versus the state of Texas. The most recent that we have seen happen was the US versus the state of Arizona. That was in 2010, when Arizona enacted a law in immigration that the US felt was controversial, and so the US Attorney General at the time, Eric Holder, then brought a case under approval of the head of state for that law of Arizona to be struck down. But then they had to go all the way to the Supreme Court for the Supreme Court now to go through the process and then later say, oh yeah, it is true, the state of Arizona crept into the area of federal, so Arizona had to drop that law and the federal one. So the point I'm just trying to make here is that sometimes there are avenues where there are confusions, where sometimes even it will be the federal to engage somewhere where the state felt, no, you shouldn't do that. Like, for example, when you heard about the Obamacare, when it was taken to Supreme Court, the states felt as though the federal crept into an area where the federal is not supposed to be. So it was the states actually who took the cases to the court. You see, so sometimes those kind of issues pop up, but at the end of the day, it will just require also a very well-furnished, well-designed Supreme Court to usually argue these kind of things.
Okay, given that, how law enforcement, how law is enforced, given that I'm talking about the picture of law enforcement. So the federal have their own special what is it, policing system, and then the states have their also unique police system. How can you explain that to our viewers?
The federal do not have police under usually in federal
It is,
systems.
it is under the it is under the what you say it, you know, what you say it, it is under the Justice Department.
What I know is, for example, in the U.S., the states are usually managing police, but then federal manages what is called SWAT. When you talk of police of the federal, it is like you're talking about the SWAT. I don't
I,
know, but
I,
I think.
I think the FBI are the police of the federal here in US.
Oh, FBI.
Yes.
Okay. Well. Here is the thing. Uh, what I know is FBI hardly intervenes on issues unless it is an issue that basically threatens what is called national interest. But then issues that are particularly, for example, threatens a particular state. For example, I come from the state of Utah, and in the state of Utah, the police system. You know, the the police itself is as a department gets dispatched when there are issues by be it the mayor, be it some businesses, whatever it is. The police, you know, they are also designed to operate in their system such that whenever there is a call, they know which unit to send based on the nature of the issue as as the police dispatch takes the information from whoever calls for a police to be dispatched, and based on the nature of the issue, the police will dispatch a police unit that is trained to handle such kind of a crisis or such kind of an issue. But one thing I know also is that the military, because the police falls under military, you know, the military are designed completely as a system in they are designed, the military itself look like a government, you know. They do have their own engineers, their own lawyers, their own, you know, doctors. They are like a government in itself, and so the civil structures, the civil administration usually functions just on top of them, but they are actually the foundation of the state. You see, let us assume that when the civil structures collapse, always find the military well established and will just catch up from there. And usually the military, of course, they don't maneuver in politics. They are not partisan. They are not here and there. They're always established right to the constitution. But then it is always the civil administration which is operating on top of it that sometimes takes what is called interests. You know, they go either this party or pro that party and all that. But usually those in uniform are just solid with the constitution. They are less partisan, and they always protect what is called those institutions that are formed to operate and to propel governance to go. You see, so basically, under normal circumstances, the police are established right there. They are a department also within the military, but then they are ready for any call that comes from the side of the civil structures or from the side of the what is called the population. That is the regular people who are like us. The police are there just to serve. You see, whatever calls comes to them, then they go to whatever place the problem is coming from, so that they will go and rescue. And they themselves are a department within, let me say, for the lack of a better word, they are a department within the military government, which lies as a foundation of the state, you know, that operates underneath the civil structures. And we, the population, we, the people, benefit from the services that they do, because They are allowed also by certain regulations that, when the population calls, when business people call, when other civil structures like the mayor or some other departments, the governor calls, you will always be to their services.
Mr. Ramba, you are a brilliant guy, and I hope I hope the government in South Sudan can pick some of you guys to help the country. You know,
I don't think our ideas will work there.
it will work. That's why we talk about it. We talk about the future of South Sudan, and people like you should be recognized. You know. All right. As we are going to end the program, the time is against us. I would like you to make your remarks, closing remarks about what do you think uh, could be really helping the people of South Sudan.
I will begin by there's this frame that there is no single bullet. That is, there is no specific one answer that you will give and you'll say, okay, this is what is going to help. It's a very complex kind of a situation in South Sudan. Uh, if you start diagnosing where the problems are coming from in South Sudan, is we are, first of all, we are very diverse with respect to culture. Okay, that is one. Second, when you look at a big number of the population within the South Sudan communities, they are that should not be taken as though I am insolent. I'm not insolent, but I'm just saying that, when you look at our population in South Sudan with respect to civility and their their cultural values, some of them are really, really very aggressive. What I'm trying to say is they have not gotten to a point where they can easily take what is called regulations, rules, and laws and kind of abide with it. You have to be educated civilly to a certain level, so that even the concept of governance will will uh, will become practically upon you. Uh, if you There are so many uh, papers written about how people of South Sudan have always been ungovernable. You can hardly govern these people for some reason. They are always resistant to whatever gets offered. They will resist. They always resist. It's very hard to tell whether people want to regress to how people lived before the colonial era, or where people want to go. It's not very clear. But what I know is people are so tribal. People are too holding to their cultural values. It is not very easy to propel them, to melt them into a hybrid identity. So everybody seems to be back to where they want to be, and that actually makes it very hard to create what is called a concept of governance, where you can implement and enforce for everybody. If you try to do that, you may look like you are trying to force people sometimes to accept something. But so long as it's good for the people, I mean, so be it for the governance. Unless it's detrimental for the people's life, then that becomes a problem. But yes, if the political will is there, federalism would be of a solution. But given the nature of the culture that I see behind South Sudan, uh, let's just cross our fingers. I'm not quite sure whether this federalism that people are yearning for will one day be
Yeah,
achieved. Yes.
let us pray for people with democratic brains. We pray for that, and as you indicated, our country is a blessing to each one of us. Believe me. Sometimes we I'm thinking of going to retire in South Sudan. I want to retire there. I don't want to die anyway. But anyway, thank you very much, sir. And we are going to share this video with a number of South Sudanese. And my apologies for technical issues. We will always welcome you here whenever any other topics arise. This evening, we are going to have, this afternoon, we are going to have Reverend Andrew Henry, and then we will have also Mr. Lojing. So we will discuss the same topic, see from different how others explain these issues that could actually shape the country. All right, sir. It
Okay.
was an honor to have you on Elnet. May God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for hosting me.
Yes, sir. Yes.
God bless you.
We will be off.
And happy July 4th.
Same to you. Same to you.